It's the Getae campaign Abridged part 11, where last time I finally gave up on my plan to cheekily take the Kotanis out after it looked like it wasn't going to happen, but we did make some progress, taking out the Lugos, finally winning one of our northern wars, and then a Kotani's invasion was taken out by a cheeky auto-resolve, meaning it's now time to bring our full might to bear against them and get a serious counter-offensive going. There are a few survivors from that epic auto-resolve. On the road up to Kronos looks like it's just the enemy king all on his lonesome. So our army moves up and kills him, and then of course we'll move on towards the territory with nothing else in our way. Now I'm making a deal with the Scordisi Confederation that is, to put me in a war with the Ereviski, the guys they're fighting who are currently at Ekink, the guys who took it from me in the past. And I'm joining this war because I've got an army here and we might as well do something with it. In particular, I'm looking for another sack or raise to progress our bonus objective. These guys seem like good candidates. My strategy against them was to just move my army here over the border so we're in their territory to make the AI get aggroed onto us. And what I hoped was that by standing really near the bridge there, I would be able to get something, a battle that triggers as a bridge fight. That's the idea. However, doesn't work out like that. I'm pretty sure you do have to be on the other side of the bridge for this to work, but we have seen cases before, even in this campaign in fact, where just being near a bridge turns a fight into a bridge battle. Anyway, so what we have is a very hard looking battle where the enemy are overwhelming us. I had to actually go down and fight it to see if it was a bridge battle, since it wasn't until Attila that it let you see what a battle map looks like without fighting it. Indeed, it was just a regular battle, so I just withdrew right away. This means that effectively nothing happens, although we will be forced to take a retreat. The AI could pursue, but in this case they don't. Some of their troops go back and the rest sit on the bridge themselves. So now I'm kind of locked out of their territory by the end of all that, so that's not ideal. The army that came back from the Kotani's front has sort of been rebuilt here. I've replaced all of the Slingers, but you might note this army's previous problem, that being lack of melee troops, is now much worse. I'm resisting recruiting things because we're so close to completing the objective, which is to recruit 60 units, and I can't do that until I've done my bonus objective, the sacking one, so the bonus objective is hamstringing us a little bit here. I've got like 5 units of space, so I'm going to recruit 3 into this army and perhaps 1 somewhere else, but we can't go any further than that until we've sacked something. Now to progress towards that, back with the Ereviski situation, I decided to attack the enemy on the bridge. Now this balance bar looks bad and they will have a river crossing to defend. However, my army has like 9 or 10 units of archers, so I thought if we just stand on our side of the bridge, we might be able to whittle the enemy down without actually having to cross. Things started off pretty promisingly. The enemy are deploying right on the edge of the river, so in range of our bows, that's what we like to see. And some of their units seemed like they were going to come across. I thought maybe the AI had been tricked into making an offense and coming across the bridge because of our superior ranged capabilities. But it is just this one cavalry unit, or 2 cavalry units actually, coming across this bridge. Plus, they did a move order, not an attack order, meaning their charge bonus is cancelled once they reach our side, and they don't barrel through our troops. And now they're all fighting our hoplites, so we'll just gradually kill them. And actually quickly kill them because I've got the archers in as well to shoot a couple of volleys. And this not only did damage but caused them to go back. Some good thinking from the AI because that was a bad situation to stay in. So now it's time to try the plan, and it became very quickly obvious that this isn't going to work because while we can sit here shooting these enemy units, it doesn't really do anything, and I was concerned about this. I was like, these guys have 10 armor and 0 shield according to the stats, even though they're portrayed as holding a shield. That's not how it works in Divide et Impera, it's just what their stats are. However, perhaps that stat of 0 is a mistake or something because the shields are very clearly blocking the missile attacks. This is doing practically no damage, and a unit with only 10 armor should be just completely wiped out by arrow fire, like visibly and quickly. So, disappointed, I realise we're going to have to cross the bridge properly. We could also withdraw, but I decided I'm going to keep going with this battle at this stage. So I started shooting at the enemy's javelineers. They have a smaller shield, their shield stat's still 0, but they die more to arrow fire. And we're killing javs because once we're on the bridge, javs will be super effective against our tightly packed formations. We already saw in a previous part of this series how quickly they can kill our heavy troops. Over at the other crossing, here's an example of arrows fired without the shield bonus applying, and we're just wiping the enemy out instantly. So these low armor units do die if the shield bonus doesn't apply, even though it is 0. I'm pretty sure it's just a miscommunication of some kind. I think the way that the mod changes the base game's mechanics as well has confused things as well in some way. So what I started doing with those archers is only firing when the enemy were moving about to try and pick up more kills by shooting into flanks, but annoyingly they kept not moving about. No idea why they were walking backwards and forwards there, but they were sometimes and giving us some chances. Over at the bridge, looks like the enemy have got angry again. They decided to send some troops to attack the bridge. I've put some men on the bridge as well. The main goal there was actually to just try and tank all of the enemy's javelins onto a shield wall before I crossed. But now we're tanking enemy melee infantry attacks. I sent one of our good units of archers over here to shoot into the side of the attackers. We don't quite have the outflanking shot. You have to shoot them from behind or the right for their shield to not count. This doesn't quite look like it's doing that, but maybe sometimes. We're getting some kills there, and after shooting that melee for a while, the result was both sides routed. Our unit at the front was nearly dead anyway. So there we go, the bridge is defended once again, but we are running very low on arrows. Most of the guys over by the bridge are already out. Our guys in the ford still have some, but I'm saving it for a rainy day. We're also tanking javs over here with Germanic levies, which isn't all that good, they're just going to die, but the enemy don't have that many javs here. So we tank them for a while, and then when the enemy come in to attack me, I do the old Rome 2 trick. I say old, I used to do this a lot in one of the really early versions of Getae et Impera, where I guess the shield bonus didn't work in the same way. Basically in this situation, if you had archers right behind a melee, they could shoot really weakly over the tops of the units in front of them, and it would still do full damage and just completely annihilate enemy units in the melee. But in this case, it actually doesn't do anything. I guess the shield bonus applies from above and stuff, so I stopped doing that quite rapidly. Over at the bridge, well, the enemy are just angry again. They keep sending individual units to attack here. My guys aren't shooting at them. Because we are managing ammo, archers have very limited ammo, which makes them quite ineffective. And I was thinking in this battle how much better it would be to have slingers here. They have more range, I think they have a faster rate of fire, and they have more ammunition, so they do more damage if you don't get them into melee, as I often admittedly do. But in theory, I think slingers are the way to go. And they do actually cost more to hire and upkeep in this mod, so I guess they're supposed to be better. Here was a nice opportunity. The enemy formed up some cav backwards in the river, shot one volley, and killed them all instantly. So there you go, archers can be powerful with me bad-mouthing them right here. Just need the right situation. Also shot a few volleys at these guys right here because they're about to go, and we do finally break through this ford. And we want to do that because we need this battle to not be in choke points. We're just breaking out here, and we do get what we need to do because the enemy had stopped sitting by the riverbank for a while. So we run forward. Our levies probably won't do that well against the enemy's equivalent trash infantry, but our archers with their remaining arrows will outflank the enemy, and we're going to move through our cav, who so far have achieved nothing in this battle. Looks like the enemy are trying something with their cav over at the bridge, and they're getting mown down. This unit I have blocking the bridge is one of our chosen spear units. This is one of our two core units, the chosen spears and the hoplites, but the chosen spears are also a hoplite unit. As you can see, they're kind of like a pike phalanx instead of a spear phalanx, but like hoplites, their front 3 ranks or something use swords instead. I was wondering here, do they still get their bonus against cavalry even when fighting with the sword? It seemed like they did because they annihilated those enemy cavalry units real fast, but not really sure. Someone in the comments said it does change based on what weapon they're using in a given moment. Now, over at the ford, we just need to finish this situation off. Our cav have free reign at the enemy rears, and our archers basically aren't needed, but we'll just run them in anyway. The enemy general was hanging out around here as well, so we're just going to run at him with lots of miscellaneous spear units, including at the front here, some more of those chosen spears. However, even though they do have their pikes, when they're not in their shield wall formation, I don't think they get any particular bonuses, and they're not particularly good. So when the enemy charge me, it really does a lot of damage to my guys, and that doesn't go all that well. Still, the enemy general didn't like his odds and got out of there, but I was able to pursue with my own backup general, who gets a nice charge into the back of that general's unit as it tries to flee. All of the surviving enemy infantry have gone over to fight my pike phalanx, And I was looking here to see whether the swords did the thing we saw on the Hoplite unit, where they count as being long as the secondary weapon. And they do by the looks of it. The sword is considered to be as long as a pike. Some of these attack animations are working over several meters of space. So that's great. I think the Chosen Spear unit, which is basically the same cost as the Hoplite unit, is better. I figured they were just different because they weren't Hoplites, but they're just better Hoplites, so might as well use them instead of the guys actually called Hoplites. Now a cav rear attack on the block eventually routs this blob. Now a very slow process ensues where we try to kill them. The inability of units to attack in most situations in Rome 2's engine means this is extremely slow and most of them will escape even that seemingly impossible situation, but by just ending the battle once all of the units were routed, we can get this result. Looks like the enemy lost about 10 times the amount of stuff that we lost, so that's pretty good for a river crossing battle. I would have let the captives go, but now I'm going to execute them because I noticed in the diplomacy screen that my allies really don't like the fact I keep releasing captives, and some of them have got to very poor relations with me. So even though it makes me more money, I'm going to start enslaving or killing captives now to keep my allies on board because we do really need them. Now as for the rest of the Eravisci situation, I was worried about attacking head on because I thought they do have that half stack of other troops and a garrison to get through, so it could be challenging. But still, looks like I'm diving into this. We can take out the survivors from that last battle by using a night attack to fight just them and nothing else, so they die, and then I do move on to besiege the town. The balance bar looks real bad, but I thought a lot of their army is going to be garrison, maybe we can deal with this. With the balance bar that bad, it's pretty likely the enemy will sally, but for whatever reason, they actually didn't. I thought it was a rule that they always sallied when they have a sufficient advantage, but they didn't do so, so the siege went on until the next turn, which is great, because as you can see, a load of other guys showed up to this battle. The Bruci, who are a Gallic tribe to the west, one of the Alpine tribes, are also at war with these guys, so they come in with 2 stacks. We'll take that auto-resolve then with minimal losses. That's what I like to see. So this was a great help from these guys, but they are going to prove to be quite annoying actually soon enough. Anyway, we can pop that sack, and that's going to be our 3rd sack done, and we might as well pop a loot as well, making an absolute ton of money, so we're very rich all of a sudden. We're still losing money, but we can deal with that by getting rid of some of these units now, because we've won the war. We don't need a full stack of troops in the lower left of our empire, right now anyway. So I'm going to start combining units and getting rid of a few of them to save some cash. I do want to have at least somewhat of an army here, not just for potential defense, but in order to pull off an exploit with a kink that someone was talking about in the comments that I wanted to see how it works basically. We'll come back to that once I actually manage to do it. But first, over at Kronos, our army has marched all the way up there unopposed, so it's time to take it, and that balance bar is pretty good. The garrison hasn't fully replenished after being killed by the Getones, so we'll have that place. Tempting to sack or loot it again to get a whole load more money, but I'm feeling nice. We're going to occupy this place because it's come to be part of what I consider my territory. My de jure realm is Lugia, and now we have it unified once again, so we can use edicts and more easily spread Dacian culture. Now that I've got my sacking goal done, by the way, we just need to recruit a few units, and then we'll go into the next chapter to see what the new objectives will be, so we'll look at that shortly, I imagine. Since we're now rich again, I thought let's send out some more of those diplomats and try and make some friends. Obviously not guaranteed to work, but occasionally the bonuses you get can be quite good. I'm sending out a lot of women on these missions. Someone recommended this in the comments. We have various noble women who I don't think you can use for generals or administrators or something, but they can be diplomats, and I think they're also cheaper to hire, or cheaper to send out, than sending your own generals to be the diplomats and stuff like that. So, we'll do a lot of that, thanks to whoever mentioned that in the comments, but I'll come back to politics later, because a few turns on from this, I took a more serious look at it. Down at a kink, I am destroying everything, and generally being quite mean to the locals, because holding a kink will be virtually impossible, so we're going to try and use it to farm some rebels as part of this exploit strategy I mentioned. So we're going to raid our own territory, making sure they really hate us, and try to recreate that faction we just destroyed basically. We want them to come back so that we can go back to war over there. However, the issue we have is that these Bruci people have left a stack by a kink. One of their armies went home, the other one's still there. They clearly have an AI pattern set up to try and capture this place, but they don't want to declare war on me, so they're just standing there. However, since all factions are hostile to rebels, the rebel army that's appeared was attacked by the Brookie there, and in the future it's going to be attacked by them again, which will make my plan very difficult to implement, but we'll come back to that later. There are more serious matters to attend to. Firstly, my first army has arrived at the Kotani settlement. Not much there, so we could just take it, but I thought I could also wait, since another army is on the way, and why take the losses, why even waste the real world time manually resolving that when this other stack will appear and we'll just auto-resolve it, or our allies will show up. However, that very turn we got some real bad news. The Suebos suddenly declare war on us. So that's the big Germanic faction along most of our western border. Going to be a bit of an issue. They're already at war with my ally up there in the top left of our territory, and instantly they capture their territory, so now they're bordering us even more. And in fact they have two armies who are very close to where my two armies are. That's lucky, I suppose. We're going to have a chance to go after them. They're not attacking an undefended border, but still, that's annoying. The Kotanis offered peace, and I would have taken it if I could vassalize them or something, but I can't do that, so instead we have to face this sally they give to us. It's an easy looking battle, but it needs to be perfect, because those two Suebos stacks that we can see in the background there are very much inbound, so we need to be ready to fight after this. Turned out to be one of those classic battles where the balance bar is the other way round in the actual battle, but whatever. I almost started things off by cavalry charging the front of the enemy army like an AI might do, because I spotted some archers there and wanted to quickly kill them, but they went back behind their troops, so I didn't do that. But instead I'll take all those horse archers I was doing that with and take them behind the enemy army for some antics later on, and they will get up to some antics as it happens. At the front, the enemy are tactical townsfolking me. These guys are drawing slinger attacks away from their archer line as they make an attack. However, they are facing the Slingers, who I praised so highly earlier in this video, and you can see why here. They're right at the back of our army, but they're just absolutely annihilating the enemy archers, sitting well out of archery range, and those archers do not last very long. Meanwhile, my horse archers begin an attack at the enemy rear. I thought I'd try and kill a few units or something, but archers kept appearing. They have archers who can hide in the open, and it turned out one of those archer units was behind my horse archer line for some reason. These guys have hung back really far from the rest of the army's advance and caught me very much by surprise. That was real cheeky, and they rout two of my horse archer units by shooting at them. Nasty stuff. Here's another nasty move. This cav charge comes in on my left, and it goes around my little echelon and hits the side of some of my slingers. It sort of also hit my spears, so we catch them in a decent melee there, but many of the slingers will get killed as well. At least we can form up with the rest of our ranged units to start pounding these guys. We hit them with jabs and stones, and that heavy cav unit will gradually die and get routed out of that situation, but still nasty for our slingers. As for the rest of the line, going to be a pretty standard setup. We've got our big phalanx line ready to hold the enemy's advance, and they're probably not going to get through. They're spamming us with jabs over here on the right, but it's not doing very much by the looks of things. My jav cav are supposed to be helping, but it seems they were distracted fighting some other unit far away. But we'll get them back into the fight soon enough. Now as for my jav cav, while two units routed, one unit stayed on, and they eventually got revenge on that cheeky rear attack by the enemy archers by charging them, and now in melee we'll have a definitive advantage and take them down. So that's the end of that, but also the end of most of my horse archers. My baggage train, aside from the fight, got hunted down by some enemy townsfolk and routed. For some reason I really cared about this. I sent my general and all the heavy cav to go and kill those townsfolk, which is a massive waste. We could have been rear attacking the enemy's main position, but I just really wanted to save the baggage for whatever reason. Instead, going to have to make some rear attacks with the scout cav, but as we've seen before, that also works out pretty well. So we'll slam in there and get some kills, and our slingers are also doing pretty good up on the left end of the line. They have broken through at one point because the spear unit fighting the enemy cav got moved out of position. So now we're holding them in position with some slingers, while others on this little mound are slinging down, probably inflicting massive friendly fire, but it's getting the job done. This unit of hoplites is really out of position, as I said, and they're not enjoying fighting on many fronts. However, the enemy army at this stage is starting to go, so they don't need to last much longer. Here comes some of our Javcav back from killing the enemy archers off somewhere else in the field, and eventually my general comes back into the fray as well, and that's going to be a chain rout, and that's also going to be the end of the Getae nation. We finally got revenge on them, and our warring in the north is won, except for the fact that a new, even bigger war has just started. We nearly got to that famous point we've been looking for when I could have some peace and quiet and actually click on the economy buttons a few times, but we're not there yet. We enslaved those captives to keep our allies on board, which they will need to be for the upcoming war, and now we just need to auto-resolve that to finish them off later. Looks like the Brookie have killed the rebels at a kink, and now they're creepily standing behind my army, which I really don't like. It seems the AI wants to betray me or something, but it can't summon up the courage to do it. So we're going to try and awkwardly run away here. I'm going to leave the army here and keep trying to do this forced rebellion thing, because having a stack here is useful just in case the Suebi come down here. And if we can get the rebellion going, then we can potentially farm some good cash off it. That's the essence of this exploit, but we'll get to that another time. The Brookie are also at war with the Suebos, so I wanted to try and ally with them, but the best I could do was get non-aggression. They really weren't interested in being my ally. Now back up to the Getae thing. We auto-resolve them again to finish off a few troops, hit the sack to get some cash, and now I will also liberate to create a new faction here, and this faction spawns with some troops, handy because we can immediately turn them over to be on our side in this war. We make them pay for a trade deal and declaring war on the Suebos, and there we have it. Now we have a superior position to defend. Looks like the Suebos armies aren't that powerful. They're numerous, but they've got a lot of trash, although they also have some berserkers, which could be fun. Whatever the case, I just need to move up my two armies. Although we're going to see a nice avoided disaster, I there popped the army onto patrol formation, thinking that's a safe position for my army to sit, but then I did the incredible. After moving this stack, I actually decided to check. This could be the first time this has ever happened in an off-ED campaign, and yes, that army is just about in movement range of an enemy army, so we're not going to use patrol formation. There we go, a lesson learned from our earlier disaster. The other stack can just fortify its position and we'll see what the enemy do. In the meantime, a few items of business to look at. I'm starting to use governors now, as a few people have requested. I didn't even know you could do this. Apparently, if we slap down a 1-unit army in a town, the general is considered to be governing that town, and you don't lose public order like you normally do. And I suppose you get some bonuses, although I don't know what they are, and I didn't notice what they are immediately. I think you just make a bit more money, and as the general levels up, perhaps there shall be more. The other important thing we need to do is spam out some troops, because it's time to complete the chapter, so I just recruit a 5-unit stack or a 6-unit stack up north. I'm going to have it near the Suebos border, of course, in case we need to actually use it, and those troops will come in useful later. Now in the Suebos turn, they do make that attack against the army that was patrolling, so we would have been ambushed if I had not actually bothered to check that stuff earlier. Good stuff. Because I'm on the edge of their range, I already know I can just retreat and they can't come after me. And the other army doesn't attack me, it just stops outside my fort, although it also, by the looks of things, tries to ambush because it disappears, but of course we know it's really there. Anyway, why don't you join me for part 12, where we'll get into our plan of action against the Suebos, and see what our new bonus objectives are going to make us do, perhaps foolishly, in the next chapter of the campaign.